will be able to sing today. And you can sing, right? You can sing. Okay, so we arrived to Bethesda pools. I think one of the most confusing, for me at least, sites and stories. It's a little bit hard to follow. Okay, and also the only one that told us about this is John. Okay, now what do we have over here? We have to understand the geography of Jerusalem. It's hard to explain, but I already told you that Jerusalem is built on a hill. Okay, but King Herod and his time, he changed the geography of the city. And today the city, and later on the Mamluks and other, today the city, everything that you see over here, this is the Muslim quarter, is actually standing on system of arches. And we cannot see the real geography as they made the city flat. The Muslims had to visit the Temple Mount when they praying 3 or 5 times a day. It depends if they can make it, if they're not walking outside. 5 times a day to climb uphill and downhill. They will all look very good, or it's too much. And they decided to level up the city by building system of arches. So today it's hard to understand the geography. Okay, we need to really imagine it over and over again and to see many models. But the way that the city is built, there is a hill over there and a hill over there, and over here there is a valley. So over here they build a system with dams that will store water coming through in rainy season, and the dams will store the water. Now from here the people will leave the city to the Kidron Valley, the Garden of Gethsemane, to do what? To feed the sheep and the goat. And this is also a place that will come back to water them. Okay, they need to drink every day. More than that, many visitors to the land, people that come to the temple with their offering from the Galilee or from any other place, they will water them over here after a long journey, and they will also wash them over here before they'll take them to the temple to remove all the ticks and the parasites and everything that's on them to be sacrificed or offered in the temple. So we have over here the sheep gates and the Bethesda pool. Bethesda is Hebrew Bet Chesed, Aramaic Bethesda, which means house of grace or a place of grace. So there is some grace over here, and it's safe to assume that the grace that they're talking about is the miracle that we're going to read about now. Okay? So there are systems of pool over here, and there was a way to control the level of water to allow fresh water in and fresh water and dirty water out. Okay? So we're reading from John 5. Sometime later, Yeshua went up to Jerusalem for a feast of the Jews. Now there is in Jerusalem, near the sheep gate, a pool which is in Aramaic called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered columns. Here, a great number of disabled people used to lie. The blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been in veil for 38 years. When Yeshua saw him lying there, and learned that he had been in this condition for a very long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," he replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred." So what is the water is stirred, and why do they wait here?
You just come down and fill the water.
Okay, so the water is stirred. I told you there are a system of dams and pools, and probably when the fresh water coming in, that's the water stirred. Okay, why do they wait here?
They want to get well.
But would they get well over here?
Angels come time to time and
Would they get well over here? Guys, in the time of the temple, the Jews believe where you get well? In the temple. They need to go to the temple. Can they go to the temple?
no,
Why?
they're disabled or wounded.
No, disabled and wounded could go. They could not practice as priests, but they could go. They cannot go because they need to be baptized. Okay? They need to be baptized to purify themselves. So they waited here in line to get baptized. Okay? But by the time you get up, the water are not good enough to be baptized again. Okay, so you need to wait for a new amount of water to come, etc., etc. Okay? Then Yeshua said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk." At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. The day on which this took place was the Shabbat. And so the Jews said to the man who had been healed, "It is the Shabbat, the law forbid you to carry your mat." But he replied, "The man who made me well said to me, pick up your mat and walk." If you remember, the first miracle I told you, all the practicalities of the Jews, all the small details, okay? And this is one of the details. You are not allowed to carry on the Shabbat. But Yeshua said, remember, stick to the essence. Forget about all those practicalities. Stick to the essence. What is more important? What is the idea? The idea is that you will get better. The idea is that you will be able to go to the temple. So indeed, this man doing it, and he's going to the temple. Now I want to point out two things. First of all, this is on the Shabbat. And the other thing is that it's mentioned to us that this pool had 5 columns in it. What are the 5 columns? Why is it important to mention? What is the meaning of the 5 columns? The 5 columns symbolize the 5 books of Moses. Okay? And in a way, what we see over here, as I told you, is something that today we all understand. But what we see over here, that Yeshua said, we have a new covenant. Remember Peter dream? We have new ideas. We can, so far we had to follow those rules of the Shabbat and other. From now on, there is a new covenant and there is a new idea, and it will be to everyone, and things will change. It's there all the time from the beginning. It's hard to see it. So later on, what happened over here? Later on, is the temple there for a very long time after? No. Remember, Yeshua saw the destruction of Jerusalem. So indeed, the city became a pagan city, a Roman city. And over here, maybe because of the miracle of healing the man, or maybe because of different beliefs, they build over here the traditions of healing. We start to learn about tradition of healing in the water of the pool, and instead of having the pools for the sheep and goat, they have the pools as a temple to Asclepius. Asclepius is the god of healing in Roman mythology. So they build over here a Roman temple. Later on, the the Christians arrive and they build a church on top of the temple, Roman temple that is built on top of the original dams. Okay? However, what is so unique about it is that when the Crusaders arrived, they decided not to build their church on top of it, maybe because they saw that everything is unstable, we don't know, and they raised a new church over here. Okay, and they call it Santa Anna. The Crusaders believed that over here, this is where Mary's mother and father used to live, and over here the angel appeared before Mary's mother that was burned and told her that she's going to be with a child. So they believe it's happened over here. It's called the Santa Anna Church. Don't worry, there are 3 different Santa Anna Church in Israel. One is in the Galilee, which making sense because Mary is from Nazareth. Okay, and one is a little bit to the south. So this is a Crusader church, the most intact Crusader church in the world today. Okay, and it carried the voice beautifully. Inside there are down stairs that will lead you down to the place in the crypt. I believe this is where Mary's mom, Anna's house used to be. And this church and this entire complex does not belong to the states of Israel, actually. It does belong to France. Okay? And France run the place for historical reasons, like many other Holy Land property that's run by the church, the Costilla de la Terra Santa in the north, in Jerusalem as well, and over here by France. And this is an order that's called the White Fathers that operate here. We may see them. They call the White Father. They operate in Africa. So we may see the priest over here is actually an African man, but they call the White Father because they started to operate in Africa and there were white people in Africa and they were wearing white at the time. They still wear white. So they call the White Father, and they operate this church that is the most desired place for concert in Israel because the way that the Crusader built it to carry the voice beautifully. So if you want, since there's no one over here, we can go in the church and we can sing in the church and do some worshiping. Do you want to? Yeah? Let's go.